Welcome to a new episode of the ASEF podcast Let's Talk About Slovenian Art. My name is Tjaša and I'll be the host of this podcast. I'm an ASEF Junior Fellow 2021 and I am a PhD student of art history. This ASEF podcast is devoted to art in Slovenia, where we talk about Slovenian rich and versatile culture made up of folklore, customs, theater, music, food, written words and visual arts. Throughout the episodes, we will get to know numerous talented Slovenian artists who are actively involved in domestic and foreign cultural scenes. We discuss with them how they see Slovenian art today, the opportunities and challenges, their vision of the Slovenian art world, and how this can be compared to foreign artistic practices. In today's podcast, I'm thrilled to welcome a Slovenian artist, painter, and exceptional printmaker, Leon Zakrajšek, who currently lives and works in Zagreb. Leon exhibited in numerous solos and group exhibitions worldwide and received many prestigious awards. If I mention just one, the Japanese Government Art Award in 1997, which enabled him to study in Japan, when he perfected himself in Japanese art techniques and its rich culture. He trained in the private studios of the renowned Japanese printmasters Harumi Sonoyama, Yukio Rei, and Fumiu Kitaoka. Leon Zakrajšek, thank you very much for joining me today and welcome to the ASEF podcast. How are you? Maybe we start, how did you spend your summer? Did you see any exceptional exhibitions that you particularly enjoyed?
So, thank you very much for invitation.
Very welcome.
I'm very honored. Actually, my summer was, this summer actually, I enjoyed the Croatian Sea, which is nice. And I spent almost a month and a half on the sea coast reading the books because during the year, actually, I don't have time to read books because I'm too much focused on the work in my studio as well on the connections which I have outside of the country where I'm living, which are sometimes, a little bit difficult because I have opportunity that I work with numerous artists around the world and some artistic organizations. I should point now one of them. This is Japan Print Association, Nihon Hanga Kobo-Seya-Ku. That's one of the most prominent and oldest printmaking associations in the world, definitely number one in Japan, which have long tradition keeping the knowledge and language of printmaking techniques, Japanese techniques, as well other techniques, but they are more or less focused on mokuhanga, what is actually woodblock printmaking, but Japanese style. I was lucky almost 40 years ago. I met incidentally in Ljubljana in Modern Gallery prominent lithographer Harumi Sonoyama, and he introduced me actually this association, and I know quite well Japanese printmaking because Ljubljana Graphic Biennale, which have one of the longest traditions in biennales of printmaking in the world, used to exhibit every 2 years big number of Japanese printmakers. And since I was a student in lycée for the art before the academy, I was already acquainted with the Japanese printmaking. So I know quite a lot about, but of course I never met any artist directly. This my meeting with Mr. Harumi Sonoyama later became huge friendship and a big story because they offer me or they support me, they nominate me for the prestigious Bunkacho Fellowship. This is a parliamentarian award from Japanese government. Every year one such scholarship was nominated, and they didn't say nothing that they nominate me. That's Japanese way. I just get one night fax at 3 o'clock in the morning because they didn't calculate the time zone. And I wake up and I begin to read a letter from him that actually I need to be in Tokyo in 1 month time because I will study there 1 year. This was big mess for me and completely destroy my plans because I have already some plans and so on. But after this big shock, actually, I went there and I studied there Japanese techniques, printmaking, Japanese techniques, as well some other techniques which are used by Japanese artists belonging to the Nihonga. What is Nihonga? That's a special way of traditional painting in Japanese society, which have really huge and different kind of approaches how to use mostly colors which are based on the water base, pigments, and of course as well gold and shell dust and some other specialities which are really something special. I don't want to put you too much to the technology because this is a circle which is very hermetically closed and for the normal people almost impossible to understand. I'm also not good speaker in English language to explain the majority of the things which are a little bit hidden.
No, it's good because, that's what excites you. That's what, you work through the year. But also, it's good that you took some time near the sea, at the seaside. You were able to just read and maybe just to put your mind somewhere else. And then you came back and you can have, no much more energy to go abroad and meet all these different people. But well, we will talk and discuss about the Japan and your experiences there a little bit more. But maybe first, my question is: you graduated from the Academy of Fine Arts in 1986, and then you specially studied in Spain. So maybe first, if you can maybe share a little bit about your experience there, why Spain, what was the main reasons that you went there?
Actually, when I complete the last year of Academy of Art in Ljubljana, it was a sad, how to say, story of my life. I became very sick, and I suffered a stroke, and this actually stopped me for another year because I used to go to some medical treatments and so on, and it was quite severe. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk and some other things, but after a year or something like that, actually, I became better and so on, and I have a strong will and wish that I will not stop with the way of life as I had before. So, of course, it was not very easy to do it, but anyway, I searched for opportunity to go somewhere after the Academy of Art in Ljubljana because I was truly and really in love all my life. I'm in love with the knowledge of printmaking, especially of traditional printmaking techniques. I don't want to say that the years of study in Academy of Art in Ljubljana were not good enough, but I knew deeply that somewhere else it is some kind of a knowledge which I need to search and find and try to enrich my language. So I knew some people in Ljubljana which living around the world and so on, and I knew one guy who was actually permanently involved with the life in Madrid, in Spain, and I asked him when he was in Madrid if he have some informations about some kind of a printmaking school which I could ask for help or go there. So, and I get good informations, and I pick a school in one little town close to Barcelona. This was the school of so-called Researching Printmaking School of Art. Yes, I sent my application and they invite me, and I picked the mentor who was Massimo Pompeo. He was Italian guy. Because I speak Italian quite good, but I didn't speak Catalan, because in this school they speak Catalan mostly. I think if I pick the Italian guy, I could communicate with him immediately. And that was true. Yeah, and I went there, and actually I realized after a month that the knowledge which they provide is almost the same like in university in Ljubljana. Just the difference was only in the way how the mentor communicate with the student. It was much more direct. Of course, we were one-to-one. So, and this was also, we spent all day, and normally every artist or printmaker have his own long way of researching. Usually in the universities around the world, professors in universities are more or less famous artists which don't have time to pay attention to the student, because they are maybe so famous, or they don't have enough pedagogic or some other skills and so on. So it's hard to get good education. But what is concerning Japanese way, how they are organized in the way, how in the universities professor communicate with the student, this is completely another story. Why? The whole system of Japanese society, as well artistic society, as well society of the people which doing something with the hand. So carpenters, potters, some other skilled professions, makers of kimono or other things, they are like gods there. Why? Because Japan as society really pay attention to the people which are artisans. Yeah. This is a huge tradition. We could say several thousand years. And usually this coming from the family, your grandfather, father, uncle, or even going about 1,000 years ago. Same artisans working in one family. This is really something I was completely, how to say it, this was a big shock for me. When I met, for instance, the guy who was younger than me, but he said to me, I am 11th generation of makers of paper. Yeah. And this was the richness of the quality. This was the catch of the tradition, and the same was with my professors in Japan, which I get. You mentioned three of them: Fumiu Kitaoka and Yukio Rei-san. Unfortunately, they passed away, but they were the key woodblock printmakers in Japan, Mokuhanga artists, the key. Yeah. Fumiu Kitaoka was the pupil of one of the most prominent printmakers before him, and Yukio Rei was one of the printmakers of Japan, traditional printmakers of Japan, but he was very much focused on the French art and European art as well. And he was also inventor. He made a book of Japanese mokuhanga technique together with a great, another great printmaker, Yoshida-san. They make a first book which introduced in English language Japanese way of printmaking. This was really exceptional, and Yuki-san was also inventor of baren. Baren is some kind of equipment, traditional way how to print the Japanese woodblock print without press, because they are use of baren. It is some equipment, you get it in your hand and with a pressure you actually put the color on the paper. But traditional baren is made from the bamboo leaves. But Yuki-san make new kind of baren which was very popular in the world, and they were both for me more like a fathers than like professors. Yeah, and this was really something beautiful, and I now when I look back I need to say that I'm such a person. I don't want to offend nobody. I knew that some of the young population, they don't like the system professor and me as a student. But I am a traditional way raised person, and I deeply respect my mentors and my professors. Why? I was also lucky that more or less all, they gave me all the knowledge without exception. They like me, they love me, and I adore them. And yeah, this is a question of also a love and trust and respect. And maybe I am a little bit also difficult with my stories, but that's my way. In this way, I get knowledge. Now I have a big problem here where I live, because I became a little bit almost older guy. I have a knowledge, but I couldn't pass this knowledge to somebody. Yeah, the purpose of the knowledge in Japan is not that you keep this just for you. The purpose is that you gave this to your son, if you have it, or to somebody around you. Because that's the way that language of past generations going again and again. Because this is my duty. This is also my duty and my respect to all the people which they gave me, because when I will pass away and if I will not this give to somebody, the knowledge of Fumiu Kitaoka and Yukio Rei will finished with me too. Yeah, this is a secret society of brotherhood of printmakers. We are a little bit stupid in some way, they said to us, but we keep some chemistries and some little secrets which are actually not secrets. They are result of long years of training and making mistakes and knowledge which is sometimes written, sometimes is not. And as well, if you were lucky that you get opportunity. So my story in Spain was nice. I get some knowledge, but it was not, how to say it, something what will open for me new world. Deep inside, I adore Japanese art since I was a little boy. I don't know why, but this is my story. I always dream about. So, and finally I met Harumi Sonoyama in Modern Gallery, and we begin to talk, and he said to me his name, and I said to him, "Oh, you get a prize on the last Biennale in Ljubljana, the big prize." I was completely, it was really, I met first time somebody, I knew his work, but I didn't knew him, and he was there. So I take him in front of his work, and he was surprised how I knew his work. And then I explained him that I finished study in Ljubljana and this, and that I am printmaker. as well. And we spent few days in Ljubljana together. It was beautiful. So when he said to me, sayonara, he go back to Japan, he said to me, I will contact you very soon because I like your work. In this time, I just have opening ceremony of my works, and he was on my opening ceremony. Yes. And he said to me, oh, interesting things. I didn't know, because we in Japan always getting from Biennale, Ljubljana Biennale, the same names. Always the same names. But I was 27 years old. So, and this was for me. And I think, okay, the guy was nice. He is going back to Japan. He will forget the promise. And so I leave. After 1 month, I really get from him a letter of invitation for one big exhibition in Yokohama. And I send my works, 2 prints. And then we communicate on the phone also, because in this time was not communications like now through Facebook or we just have phone and letters. And I called him occasionally. He called me and he said to me, oh, you know what? Now is a big problem because we want that you are a part of Yugoslav artists in the pavilion, but the people which they are in charge for Yugoslav pavilion, they are not keen to exhibit your works. Actually, in the end of the day, Japanese decided and put my works in Japanese pavilion. This was for me. I get this information later, and it was really, it was nice. So my story with Japan Print Association begin. Yeah. And then very soon the directory of Japan Print Association invited me to Tokyo, and I went to the Metropolitan Museum Ueno in Tokyo, where is the base of the print association Japanese, and I have a meeting with all these old guys, and they said to me, we would like to make first big exhibition after the Second World War in Europe. We have some possibilities to do this in Switzerland and in England, but you are coming from the place which is very well known for the printmaking, that's Ljubljana. We don't want to work with the Biennale, but maybe this will be for you opportunity that you do something. They asked me. I fell in love immediately in this idea, and I said to them, it is no problem, thank you very much, I'm very honored, I'm going back and I will do my best. So I returned to Slovenia, begin to search for the place. It was hell and difficult, and also finally I couldn't make this exhibition in Ljubljana, of course, because they broke all my legs and bones. But I found Škofja Loka city. There was a director of museum in Škofja Loka, Mr. Pavlovec. I thank him. He passed away, but I thank him. And he said to me, let's do it. And we make exhibition of 100 living printmakers from the Japan Print Association, everybody with 2 prints, so in total 200 prints. And this exhibition was really something, So, and after that, they didn't say me that, but after that, the Japan Print Association introduced me to the government, and they nominate me for this Bunkasho fellowship, and I get it. Normally, this kind of awards or fellowships always going to the countries which have the best political and economical links with Japan. So normally everything's going either to United States or to France or to UK or to Germany. But then somebody from a little Slovenia, so that's me, was on the list. And I believe that they need to push really hard that I get it. And I get it. And I went to Japan and they introduced me some professors and I refused some of them, which was also for them. Yeah, this was So I didn't think on the way what that means for them. But then I teach a lesson very soon. But anyway, actually they said to me, if you are not accepting our way, then after a few days you could go back to your country and sayonara. Yeah, but anyway, Harumi Sonoyama called me in hotel next day and he said to me, we will have the opening ceremony of the 5 most famous printmakers now in Takashimaya store in Tokyo. Takashimaya store is one big place, very well known for the art in this time, and please come to the opening ceremony. And I went there and I met incidentally again another person. This was Mr. Fumiu Kitaoka. He was there on the corner alone, and I watched at least half an hour people running to him and then making some bowing and running from him to another part of the room. This I look and I think, who is this guy? What is that meaning? It was interesting, but he smiled a little bit to me. Yeah, but this smile, Japanese smile, it's a big trick because the Japanese smile have 1,000 or more meanings. Yeah, for the foreigner, it's very hard to. Yeah, what is? But anyway, I'm such a person. I don't have fear or problem. And I said to myself, I'm going to introduce myself to him. He's smiling to me, and I went there and I came and I know how to bow in Japanese way. This bowing, this ojigi, Japanese ojigi is also very tricky, but I have a good teacher. So I bow and I said to him in Japanese language, because I speak a little bit how to introduce who am I and this and that. And they don't shake hands, never. But he gave me the hand. And he said to me, are you stupid? What are you doing? Why you introduce yourself in the way like all the others? But he speak in the perfect American English. So I was completely lost, man. Yeah. And first, in Japan, you get the meishi, the card. Yeah, and he gave me his card and I read Fumiu Kitaoka and I became immediately frozen like a fish, because I know his name and this was a little bit stupid situation. And then he said to me, listen, you have a guts. You refuse some people here. If I am younger, 30 years, I will kick your ass from Tokyo directly to your country because this is not good way. But now I think differently. I am old guy. I like it that somebody have this attitude. So listen, I'm giving you an offer. You will come to study in my studio 2 days per week. I call my good friend Yukio Rei son, which I don't know. You will study with him 2 days per week. Now you will study 2 days in studio of Harumi Sonoyama, and once a week you will go to the Tama University. Tama University is one of the most famous school of art in Japan, like Royal Academy in London. Yeah. And there they will put the stamps and everybody will be satisfied. So, and then my study begin. And this was really, he was a huge mountain. He was Mount Everest with the knowledge, with the way how he speak, how he treat me. Of course, I didn't speak Japanese at all. And this was for me good because he speak very good English. In one way, it was good, but in another way, it was not good because but I learned anyway. The way of life in Japan is such that sooner or later you need to learn and
to learn.
Okay.
I think it sounds from what you're saying that it was meant to be. I think, just from the start, how you adore Japanese culture and then, how you met right people and then how you did these connections. It's very inspiring. And, it just also, we covered a lot of my questions through, your story, which is great. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think, one of my questions was, And that's, I think today it seems that it's very easy, or we have a lot of opportunities to connect internationally. It was different at that time or when you did it, but I think it sounds, with a little bit of courage, a little bit of luck, and I think with a little bit of connections, you can do it. You just came from Slovenia to Japan, you studied there, and then you traveled, and you did all these exceptional things, which it's great. And maybe if we just stay with this for a little bit longer, can you just do a little bit of a comparison between the Graphic Biennale in Ljubljana and then with the Tokyo Graphic Biennale? It was a little bit later, right? But then these connections between Japan and Slovenia started in the 50s, and I think it strengthened as well with the Japanese artists coming to Slovenia, exhibiting their prints, and that's how you met them as well in person. And then but can you do that?
Listen, is no mystery, but it doesn't matter. I will tell you the secret which I get from Mr. Stanislavski. Who is Mr. Stanislavski? He was the president of printmaking department, I think, in Łódź, in Poland. He was one of the most prominent members of printmaking juries around the world, and he was a close friend of Mr. Kržišnik. And I met Mr. Stanislavski in Bonn, in Germany, when I visit the Kunsthalle in Bonn. Kunsthalle in Bonn is the biggest museum in Germany in this time, because in the early 90s I have an idea to organize the first private exhibition of mini print in Slovenia, in Maribor. I did this exhibition in the preparations. I said to myself, I will not sit in, because I was the organizer, I will not put myself to the chair of the president of the jury, because this is not healthy, and this I couldn't do it, although all the others do it. I will find other people. So I picked two from Ljubljana, Mr. Basin and Mr. Kovic, both very prominent art critics, and they helped me to find foreign members of the jury. Yeah, one of them was also the president of Kunsthalle in Bonn, and I went there, and Mr. Stanislavski was there, and I know Stanislavski from the catalogs around the world. So what was the secret of Ljubljana Graphic Biennale? We shouldn't forget one thing. They never talk about that. Tito, as the president of Yugoslavia, was a very smart guy. We shouldn't forget that around him were some people in the beginning, after the Second World War. Mr. Popovic, he was, I think, the foreign minister of Federative Republic of Yugoslavia. Koča Popovic, he was a general. He was as I understand, he was the Sorbona student. Moshe Piade as well. These people were lumens, but they serve political regime, but deep inside they were a cultured people. So they call Josip Vidmar in Slovenia, because Josip Vidmar was some kind of a special person for many reasons. And they said to him, this is the Tito's order. Yugoslavia need to have some big exhibition, international exhibition, and please do it. So Vidmar, as a culture guy from the shadow, he had some strings in his hands through the politics and so on. He nominated one young student or graduator from the university, and this guy was Zoran Kržišnik. Yeah, young Zoran Kržišnik he was nominated to do first exhibition of prints in Ljubljana. In this time, they didn't think about Ljubljana Graphic Biennale. This was more Biennale which will be in Ljubljana, but it is Yugoslav art exhibition. So Mr. Kržišnik accepted the nomination, and he went there. he went where? To Paris. And he met there who? Zoran Mušić. Yeah, Zoran Mušić was a member of École de Paris. He was a close friend of many influenced French printmakers, artists around the world, Venice, Italy. And Zoran Kržišnik visit all these people, directly get prints. So, and the Ljubljana Graphic Biennale was born. And Kržišnik was smart guy with a good connections through the politics and so on. And they push a little bit around the world, and this was a success. We shouldn't forget that also Picasso was one of the people who exhibit his works in Ljubljana Graphic Biennale. And some other big names from America, I will say now, for instance, for the people which are used to follow artistic world around the world. So it was a Sam Francis. And also, so Sam Francis work with my professor Harumi Sonoyama, because Harumi Sonoyama was his printer for lithographies of Sam Francis when Sam Francis living in Tokyo. So it was a success, and Kržišnik put Yugoslavia as well, Ljubljana, on the map of new printmaking biennale. I should say that until from the beginning until late 80s, this biennale was more or less always the same, more or less the same people all the time, and biennale was focused on the production worldwide of true and quality traditional techniques.
What about very quick question here. What do you think is the role of Božidar Jakac here? Because, people don't talk about it, but it was his idea initially.
They don't talk why. They also don't talk that without Božidar Jakac in Ljubljana Academy of Art will not exist. Because Ljubljana Academy of Art is very young academy. All Slovenians more or less study in Zagreb, because Zagreb have longer tradition. But Božidar Jakac, he was a phenomenon in ex-Yugoslavia, of course. We shouldn't forget that through the politic way of life, he was key person from the side of Slovenian culture people. Why? He was the member of so-called Jajce meeting, and he make a portrait of Tito, not one, but more. And he was powerful man, and when he decided with some other partisans in Slovenia and say, let's do it, Academy of Art in Ljubljana. That was his idea. But Kržišnik, he didn't tolerate nobody around him. And also we shouldn't forget that Kržišnik was not a partisan, but he was a member of UDBA. Yeah. And from the beginning, I know that it was harmony in discussions, because incidentally, I met several times Božidar Jakac in person, several times. Yeah, he was very interesting guy. I should say a big technician. Really, he was a talent. He was a very important artist. Maybe one of the most important.
I think another artist or another persona in Slovenia that it's not put, I think, in the right place, or it's not researched enough. And I think we have this kind of problem that we have a lot of great artists, not just artists, but great artists which are not put on the right place, or they are not researched in a way they are supposed to be, or they deserve to be. So that's for probably young art historians to do. I don't know.
My answer on your thoughts is, until Yugoslavia exists, if you were an artist, because I was an artist also, independent artist in the time of Yugoslavia, I live in this part of the world, and I completely knew what is all behind, and I was a part of movement, I was a part of many other things, and so on. I should say, if you were a good artist and you were not a member of communist regime, was very difficult for you as an artist. If you are a member of communist regime and like to be an artist, it was more easier. Yeah, we shouldn't forget, but Slovenia was as you also know, was quite open. Yugoslav communistic regime was not like communistic regime in Hungary, Czechoslovakia or Cuba. Yeah, and especially for Slovenia, because Slovenia was in the border with Austria, Italy, and so, and we were, how to say it, more open and developed and
connected.
But if we are talking about Ljubljana Graphic Biennale, the golden age of Ljubljana Graphic Biennale was 60s, 70s. And then with the old age of Kržišnik, slowly everything going down. And he didn't find the proper person who will sit in his chair. But you mentioned Tokyo Biennale. Tokyo Biennale is not existing anymore. They put the Biennale in sleeping long ago. Why? That's very, very normal. In Japan, when some story losing the colors and the power, they just say, oh, it's enough.
Which is good.
Yeah.
You know?
I was a member of one Tokyo Printmaking Association, which was established by my professor Yukio Rei in Tokyo, because he said to me when he began to establishing this, Japan Print Association is too big. I would like to make a small association with the artists from Tokyo area, and the number will be 17. And I said to him, why? Yeah, he said to me, this is the small amount of the people which they could communicate easier. And why 17? Why? Because in Paris exists Haifa studio, 17. Yeah, because all the Japanese are in love with France and so this was the story. So he invited me to this association as the first foreigner and first and last foreigner, because 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the Han 17 put association in sleeping as well, because they said the language of art is not anymore so fresh and sayonara. So Ljubljana Graphic Biennale continue after the Kržišnik, of course, but do you think that this Biennale is like it was before? I don't think so. But also was happened in Krakow, also was happened in some other places. Why? These old guys lose the power. These days politics is not anymore focused on the culture. And the artists are more or less around the world now under the big pressure of new communications and so on. You know, everybody is an artist. You make a photo with your phone, then you download some painting program and you repaint your photo. Somebody print you, it costs you 20 quids, you put on the wall and, oh, what an artist I am. Look what a beautiful view in my home, and that's the big story.
That's connected with my next question is, because you're mentioning these new ways of art. So what do you think, and we talked about it a little bit, but what do you think is the situation of graphic art today? In the past, we discussed the successes in the field of graphic art had put Slovenia on the map internationally. And how do you think it's today? We have some problems with the Biennale, but do you think that maybe because the way how we think about art changes, or what do you think distinguishes Slovenians from others? Is there anything you think that we are different in, that we can say, yes, that's, Slovenian graphic art or print? Or do you think it's very generic now?
From the point of the artist, what I am, from the point of the organizer of printmaking exhibitions around the world, what I am. From the point that I'm a member of several printmaking associations around the world, what I am proud and happy. A month ago, I became, after 35 years of my cooperation with Japan Print Association, first foreigner, so-called overseas member, first. So that's for me, my dream finally fulfilled. But last 15 years, or maybe 20 years, China make huge steps regarding printmaking. We shouldn't forget that China as well as Japan, they have the longest tradition of paper. They invent everything, ink, this, paper and everything. Yeah. But last 20 years, the communist regime of China realized, like Tito realized in 50s, we need to show ourselves that we, this and that. So Chinese government said, we will make Chinese artists strong artists. Yeah. And they did it. And now you have in Guanlan, close to Shenzhen, Print Base, which is the biggest studio in the world for the printmaking, the biggest museums, the biggest everything. I was lucky, and I was in the first group of foreigners. This was, 10 years ago at least, when I was invited to this Guanlan printmaking shop, and I was there among some Spanish artists and one Canadian girl. We were the first foreigners there. Now, this is the biggest printmaking biennale. Why? Because government put a huge money in. Everything is money. In the end of the day, no money, no funny. So it is normal that somebody who is, soccer player get 50 million of euro because he changed the club, but it is a normal if, some little group of artists wants to build another printmaking studio in London. This is not possible, because you need to have some, who will support you with 5 quits and this and that. The art need money, not only artists who are always prepared to do the best without money. Without money is not possible. Let's look United States. I don't want to glorify them, but even Smithsonian Museum is not getting money from the government of United States, from the supporters of the people, local people, ordinary people. Me, I, as a Slovenian, could send 10 quits every month if you want. I'm talking about that. When somebody at home will read a book occasionally, when somebody at home will say to his wife, listen, darling, your photo is beautiful and you make quite beautiful print, but I think that we maybe need to buy some original artwork. Then everything will change. We need to educate the young population, the young people from the beginning of the school. They need to have a knowledge about art, that this is something good, that this will develop his brain and environment, and that he will be happier because of that, because art is what? Art is equal truth, art is equal ethos, art is equal beauty. So, of course, we are living now in the era where the beauty is opposite of the beauty what was in 30 years ago.
Yeah. I think something should change. And I think in the future, well, we'll see.
It's changing because I am very much linked in international printmaking society around the world. We all the time communicate, we the colleagues, we all the time communicating and searching for answers and searching for opportunities, and we all knew that we are also guilty. We as an artist are also guilty. But focus on the art. What we knew from the tradition what the art is. We knew. Even students of university in Ljubljana, because I check occasionally some people which they finished the studies, they don't know nothing about printmaking. They never heard nothing. So, who is guilty? We the artists are guilty too. This I know. But I push and I really do a lot, and I will fight until the end of the day, because that's my obligation to the people which gave me this knowledge. I need to spread this, and I think that, and we need to educate the people. Although that these days nobody wants to be educated because everybody thinks that it's overqualified for everything.
Yeah, and I think I think that's a kind of a good end before my last question. Just to have that knowledge and wanted to spread it to others, to the ones who want to listen. That's also important to find the right people. How you did it, you find the right mentors, so that's how you will find probably someone who will listen. But well, if we finish with more lighter, topic, or as I say. So with your art.
Listen, I am optimist. Really. Why? Because I knew that every individual these days question himself. Because we live in the environment which is nature is destroyed, humanity is destroyed. Even when these things penetrate to the family, which is the cell, then you begin to ask yourself, did I really need another iPhone or another 2 iPhone? Or I should buy something ecological, or I should put on the wall good painting and enjoy it. Long ago, I decided I will not be only an artist, I will also organize exhibitions, I will work internationally. Why? Because I think that the guys which doing that around me are not good enough. And I am thankful for all the people which helped me, because I was blessed, really. But I'm also thankful to people which smashing my face. Why? Because they push me that I said, okay, I'm going somewhere else. And And you need to, so I read, recently I read some kind of a poem, and it was written, somebody who couldn't cry, but really cry, he also couldn't smile. We need that we are going to some tragic situations, to some cathartic situation. Everybody need to suffer. Everybody need to be happy and to suffer, because it's not just a suffer and not just a happiness. But a good balance of all these things which are in our lives. That's, I think, some kind of nirvana, maybe. Good balance. And I'm thankful to all my colleagues around the world, because they help me to struggle with many things, with addresses, with telephones, these days it's easier to travel around and study. When I was young, it was no opportunity. It was even almost impossible to get some kind of a magazine. We just need to push ourselves in the direction that we educate ourselves every day, and that we are better persons, and everything is simple. I am optimist.
I think that's also kind of the right way to finish our conversation. It was
last words. Slovenia and Croatia, where I live now, should invest more money to the culture, and also should open the door for the foreign artists, for the foreign associations. We need to invite them here. We need to give them opportunity that they will show their works here. And also I strongly advise to the museums in Slovenia and Croatia, when you will have open place for a new director, please select somebody from Dublin, Calcutta, or from I don't know where, not local people.
Just to bring, some of the
new, fresh knowledge and blood. Let's invite foreigners here. Give them opportunity that they will work, they will stay here. Because Slovenia as well, Croatia, beautiful country, peaceful. You could walk around the town at 3 o'clock in the morning, no problem.
Big thank you to our audience for joining us on this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm looking forward to the next episode of Let's Talk About Slovenian Art. Thank you very much, and see you soon.